WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:36. It's O'Connor and Company on this Wednesday, first day of November, charging into the holiday season with gusto. Coming up later in the program at 7:05, Ann Miller. She's the mother of one of those young men on a football team in Loudoun County who now has to shower with a young woman identifying as male. 7:35, Amy Riccardi is running for school board in Loudoun County. And coming up at 8:35, Adam Credo, who's got great reporting on Capitol Hill about Middle East policy, Iran sanctions, all that stuff. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Julie Gunlock. Good morning,
morning.
Julie. Joining us right now is Cal Thomas. Cal, thanks for joining us, sir.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yesterday, Christopher Wray faced some questioning on Capitol Hill, and he said, yeah, boy, it's time to really worry about domestic terror attacks. We could have Hamas or Hezbollah or other Iranian-funded terrorists walking amongst us right now. Wow. Now's the time to worry. Maybe the time to worry was a little while ago there, Cal Thomas.
Yeah, well, duh. I mean, if you've got an open border, for heaven's sakes, if you've got tens of thousands of gutaways, if you've got a director of Homeland Security, if that isn't a joke, Mayorkas, who can't even tell you the names or the nationalities of anybody who has come in, then you're probably going to have a terrorist attack. Let me tell you, if there is a terrorist attack between now and the election, Biden is finished, Kamala Harris is finished, Republicans ought to be taking over the White House and both houses of Congress. This is an absolute outrage. It is an abandonment of the primary responsibility of the President of the United States to keep America safe. I was just stunned by this testimony, but not really that surprised given what's been happening all during the Biden administration with an open border.
Yeah, and also during that hearing, Senator Josh Hawley was really compelling. The call is coming from inside the House. There is a pro-Hamas official in DHS, and Mayorkas wouldn't even address it. And he said, I am not allowed to talk about HR issues. You're the head of DHS, and yet they have this pro-Hamas official within DHS, and he wouldn't comment on whether she's been fired. He said she's been dealt with or put on leave. It's just outrageous that these people are officials.
It's called infiltration, Julie,
Yes.
and it's not just that one at DHS. There are reports, and you read them in the Washington Times, you don't read them in the Washington Post,
Right.
about infiltration at many levels of government and many other institutions around the country, including, as we've seen, on our university campuses. This is a very great strategy. I mean, if the Germans had used this, if the Japanese had used this during World War II, we might have had a different outcome. I just think that there are people in this administration who really don't like America. They want to flood America with all kinds of people who don't love America either and just want what they can get and take and take from us. And because, remember Obama said he was going to fundamentally transform America, but he never said from what to what. And Biden has said the same thing.
Yeah. Cal, if I could keep our focus on the Biden administration, Kamala Harris has reinvented herself yet again. The reboot of Kamala, rebooted more than an old IBM XT computer in 1986. She was on 60 Minutes, and she was asked a very simple question. If for some reason Joe Biden doesn't run for re-election or isn't on the ticket next year, you would think you'd be the heir apparent, and yet everyone's saying it's going to be a free-for-all. They are throwing all these other names. Why do you think that is? And instead of actually addressing the question, she said this.
First of all, I'm not going to engage in that hypothetical because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
I mean, Cal, that's an odd answer, isn't it? No one said he wasn't alive. Is there something we should know?
It reminds me of the Frankenstein movie. He's alive! He's alive! He's alive! Yeah, I mean, when you have to say that the president is alive, I think you got a problem there.
Yeah,
Or it reminds me of the movie Dave. You remember the movie Dave where the presidential lookalike? Maybe they need somebody like that, somebody who looks like Biden but has a brain.
Well, if you look at certain corners of the internet and social media, there already is a body double for Joe Biden. It's someone wearing a mask, so that could very well be happening right now without the benefit of Kevin Kline as part of the casting process.
I think I saw that on Halloween last night, one of those guys walking out. Except instead of trick or treat, we're getting trick or trick.
You just said, obviously, God forbid a terror attack occurs, and you said that would be it for the Democrats and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But even without that, what's your assessment of the presidential sweepstake now? Because we're basically a year away from Election Day.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a prophet or the son of one, but this business in New York with the Trump kids going to testify and Trump himself on his properties and whether they were valued properly or not is really chump change compared to what's coming in Georgia and with Jack Smith, the independent counsel. Granted, all of these are Democrats, and I think there might be a little more credibility by the public if at least there were some Republicans involved in this in the prosecutorial process. But if he's convicted, and especially if he's sentenced to prison, I mean, all bets are off. I don't know what in the world's going to happen. I think it's interesting that Nikki Haley is now tying in Iowa Ron DeSantis, but she's still at 16% with Trump over the top. So it's hard to say. Ask me in a year, and I'll have a clearer answer.
Are all bets off? I mean, do you think that the people who are supporting President Trump right now would be dissuaded from that support should he get convicted? Because I think most people think that, as you just said, these seem pretty politically motivated, and any conviction he gets will be appealed. So it's not like he's going to be behind bars. He can, and there's nothing unconstitutional about somebody being president if they've been convicted of a crime.
Oh, I think he would want to pardon himself. Now that's never happened before.
Yeah.
But the Constitution clearly puts no limits on a president's presidential power. So I think that's the scenario. It's sure going to be interesting. I hope I live through the next election. There's plenty to write about.
Cal Thomas, how dare you even suggest such a specter?
Well,
he's the author of A Watchman in the Night, and you've got to stick around long enough to give us the sequel. So thank you, Cal.
Thank you very much, guys.
It's always good to talk with you. I like it when he drops the mic.
I know. Click.